Bill Walton is possibly the oddest member of the NBA's 75th anniversary team. His peak lasted only 2 seasons, in which he played only 123 regular season and 21 postseason games. He was only an All-Star twice, and Basketball Reference's Hall of Fame estimate puts him at a 5% chance to get in based only on his professional career, though he did make it on his first ballot when his college career was considered. I couldn't get him any higher than honorable mention on my top 75 list because I need more than 2 seasons from a player to rank him that high. But man, what a 2-year stretch it was. In the 1976-77 season, Walton led the league in rebounds and blocks per game and finished second in MVP voting behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The following season, Walton won the MVP, leading Portland to a 50-10 record before his regular season ended in injury. And in between those 2 regular seasons was the 1977 postseason. Walton's playing career early on was marked by winning, and lots of it. In the 4 years from his senior year in high school through his junior year at UCLA, Walton didn't lose a single game, including an NCAA record 88-game winning streak. Though the winning streak ended during his senior year, UCLA still made it to the Final Four and won the 3rd place game. Walton was named National Player of the Year all 3 years he played for UCLA's varsity team. He was a no-brainer for Portland to take with the number 1 pick in 1974. Portland, who had never won more than 29 games in a season at that point, won 38 and 37 games in Walton's first 2 seasons, despite him missing nearly half the regular season games with various injuries. It wasn't the level of success Walton was used to, but it was a marked improvement for the Trailblazers. The 1976-77 season was a turning point for the Portland franchise. They hired a new coach, Jack Ramsey, who would be named to the NBA's 15 greatest coaches list in 2021, and they signed Maurice Lucas from the ABA, who would become an all-star wingman for Walton. Additionally, the Blazers nailed their previous draft, with Lionel Hollins and Bobby Gross becoming solid starters in their second season. The team won 49 regular season games and made the postseason for the first time in franchise history. Walton averaged 17 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks in the first-round series against the Bulls, 17, 13, and 3 in the second round against the Nuggets, and 19, 15, and 2, and tied for the team lead in assists in a 4-game sweep of Kareem and the Lakers in the Western Finals. Portland met the 1 seed from the East, the Philadelphia 76ers, in the finals. Philly was led by Julius Erving in his first NBA season, who averaged 30 points per game in the series, George McInnes, another future Hall of Famer in his prime, and the dads of a bunch of players you've heard of. The 76ers won the first 2 games at home, but the Trailblazers won the next 2 on their home court and stole Game 5 back in Philly, setting up a Game 6 back in Portland and a chance for the Blazers to win the NBA championship in their first ever postseason. Portland's offense was designed to run through Walton. Their half-court offense utilized his screens to create open jump shots and used his low-post passing ability to create layups off of cuts. There is a reason some consider Walton to be the greatest low-post passer in NBA history. In the first quarter alone, he had 3 assists from the low post as well as drawing a couple of fouls. Another important facet of Portland's offense was pushing the ball up court as soon as they had possession. Walton again was the key to this, passing the ball quickly down court to a guard as soon as he had a defensive rebound or took it out after a make. Bobby Gross would end the game shooting 12 for 16, mostly on layups created by Walton, leading Portland with 24 points. At the end of the first quarter, Walton had 4 assists and no turnovers to go with 4 points. On the defensive end, Walton was less impactful. He blocked a shot and altered a couple others. There were a few times he stepped up to double-team Julius Erving, and each time he did, the man he left was wide open for an easy score. I don't know if this was Walton's fault or if his teammates should have done a better job rotating over without knowing what the team's strategy was. But regardless of whose fault it was, the first quarter was not a strong opening defensively, and the game was tied 27-27 at the end of the quarter. Walton started the second quarter on the bench, but started strong once he got on the court. After his first defensive rebound of the quarter, he started a 3-on-2 break, and on the next defensive possession, Walton blocked Julius Erving, which started another break for Portland. Philly's starting center, Caldwell Jones, would go to the bench with foul trouble, which forced the undersized George McInnes to move to center for a few minutes. Walton's defense cooled McInnes down after a hot start. He got 2 more blocks in the quarter, both on shots by McInnes. On the offensive end, Walton looked for his shot more than he did in the first quarter. He hit a hook shot early and scored a couple at the basket later, one of which was on the shorter McInnes and the other was an and one. He added 2 more free throws to finish with 9 points and 1 assist in the quarter and helped Portland pull away to a 12-point lead at the half. In the third quarter, Walton's defense improved even more. He blocked a shot on the first possession and a few possessions later forced a miss from Erving before Walton knocked down a jump shot at the other end. Portland's defensive adjustments were working. The 76ers stopped getting open looks at the rim. When Walton stepped up to stop penetration or double team, the 76ers players began to stop and shoot turnaround jumpers rather than attacking the basket by the end of the third quarter, which, as we now know, was especially bad in an era when every jump shot was a long 2-pointer. Besides Erving and McInnes, the 76ers players basically stopped scoring anything that wasn't a fast break or a free throw. Offensively, Walton moved away from the basket a bit in the third quarter, hitting jump shots and making passes out of the mid to high post rather than the low post. He had 7 more points in the quarter and 1 more assist, though his passes also led to free throws and started fast breaks. When Walton went to the bench to rest at the end of the quarter, the 76ers went on a run to cut the lead to 9. Walton started the fourth quarter on the court but seemed like he needed more rest. He had almost no offensive impact through the first 5 minutes. Defensively, he was still forcing the 76ers into jump shots and quickly passing the ball up court when he got a rebound, but many possessions he never made it down court to the offensive end. Perhaps his biggest play of the quarter was drawing the 6th foul on Caldwell Jones. However, that just forced the 76ers to go small and push the ball more quickly up court, beating Walton each time. Philly ended up cutting the lead to 2 and had opportunities to tie the game at the end, largely because they went small. Walton blocked a shot at the end of the game, though Philly got the rebound and immediately scored. And on the final possession, Walton challenged the jump shot and batted away the final miss to ice the game and the championship for Portland. Here's where I should talk about how great this game was and how it sealed Walton's Hall of Fame legacy. But I want my videos to be an honest look at NBA history, and you can't do history without an open mind. I chose this game for my video before I'd ever seen it. I wanted to do a greatest game for a player in the 70s, and Walton's stat line in this one jumped out to me, though I will get to that in a moment. I ranked the 12 best finals closeout games in NBA history a while ago, and had this one from Walton at number 6. But having watched the game a few times now, I'm not convinced it's one of Walton's greatest games. Portland was clearly running everything through him on offense, and his defensive presence changed the way Philadelphia played their half-court offense. But those are both a mark of how great a player he was overall, not necessarily how great this particular game was. In this game, there weren't any standout plays or sequences that made Walton clearly the best player on the court. For most of the game, Julius Erving seemed to be the best player. Erving scored 40 points in the game, which at the time was his NBA career high, and even dunked on Walton. Erving is an all-time great who I think almost everyone would rank above Walton, so there's no shame in being outplayed by him. But if this is supposed to be Walton's signature game, I'd want him to be the best player on the court. Walton's biggest contributions came in the middle of the game, when Portland stretched their lead to 15, which shouldn't be discounted. But when the game was tightening up down the stretch, it wasn't Walton coming up with the big plays. He was clearly tiring, not making it down the court a lot of possessions. He didn't score a single point in the fourth quarter, missing all 3 shots he took. And Portland's all-star forward Maurice Lucas was the guy grabbing key rebounds and getting to the free throw line in the final minutes. Walton's one big play was a blocked shot that Philly immediately grabbed and put back in. And I didn't mention this in the game summary, but with Portland up by just 2 points and under 20 seconds to go, Walton made this inbound pass. Watch it again. The trapping defender is standing right there, but Walton still throws it to Gross along the sideline, which results in the 76ers getting the ball back and having the chance to tie the game. It was a careless mistake with the game on the line from someone who is supposed to be a great decision maker. Walton was good in this game. He was very good. But was he great? Yeah, probably, but not much greater than in one of his average games. This was the greatest moment of his career. I'm supposed to say he was unbeatable, but without the ability to watch most of his other games, I can't confidently say this was his greatest. Walton's final official stat line was 20 points, 23 rebounds, 7 assists, and 8 blocks. But I need to talk about that too. I kept his stats during this game because they seemed off. It's a little hard to tell when he's blocking shots due to the video quality. I have him somewhere between 5 and 10 blocks, so 8 is fine. Depending on how generously I counted assists, I have him between 6 and 9, so 7 is fine. But I cannot get him to 23 rebounds. He officially is tied for the NBA record 20 defensive rebounds in a playoff game, a record that he set in the previous game actually. But I can only count 16 or 17 if you're being generous. The only thing I can guess, other than a statistician just making a mistake, is that shots Walton blocked to a teammate were counted as defensive rebounds for Walton, which is an interesting way to interpret the rebound definition. So if a player makes a controlled tap of a missed shot to a teammate, the player making the tap gets credit for a rebound. For example, on this play, Walton bats the ball out to Lionel Hollins, and Walton gets credit for the rebound. But I can't think of any time a player blocked a shot in a way I could call controlled. This block, for example, also goes directly to Hollins, but Walton is just knocking the ball into a spot where a teammate might be able to get it. It's not really a direct tap. I don't believe this block would ever be counted as a rebound for Walton today, but maybe that's how the stats were counted in the 70s. If you have any further information about that, I would love to know. If blocked shots to teammates were always counted as defensive rebounds for the shot blocker in this era, it calls into question the rebounding stats for all the best shot blockers of the era, but I don't have any definite conclusions yet. Officially, Walton has the playoff defensive rebounds record, and that will never change until someone grabs 21. Walton's record 20 defensive rebounds has been matched by Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Walton is the only player in that group to have more than 5 blocks in the same game. It has to be said that offensive and defensive rebounds weren't counted separately when Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain played. They and probably other players surely had more than 20 defensive rebounds in some playoff games, but since 1974, Walton in this game is officially tied for the most defensive rebounds. The Trailblazers would get off to a 50-10 start the next season and be the clear favorites to repeat before Walton injured his foot. He still won the MVP in only 58 games in 1978, but his injury would be the beginning of the end of his career. He only played 259 more regular season games after his injury, and though he reinvented himself, winning the Sixth Man Award for the 1986 champion Boston Celtics, he never came close to the greatness he reached in Portland. Thanks for checking out this video. Please give me a like and a follow if you want to see more, and leave a comment if you have any information about how rebounds were counted in the 1970s, or if you have a suggestion about another player's greatest game. I'll see you in the next video.